So I'm Raymond. I'm married to Miriam. She's also from the Kibbutz, and I have 3 children. One of 8, 14 and 15. We made Aliyah from Holland 6 years ago to Nahal Oz because I knew I had a job in the Refet of Nahal Oz, and then the fun started. So in Holland we were firefighters. So I think 3 days after we arrived, the night we arrived, the first rockets were shot after Tzuk to another kibbutz. So my neighbor came to inform us what was happening, and I think we arrived at Shlishi. Shit. And on Friday, the border riot started with all the balloons and the kites. And because we were firefighters, we started helping putting out all the fires in the fields because the people of the kibbutz didn't know what to do. So that it was a problem, but for us it was a really good way to integrate into the kibbutz. It's a small. I started working here as a normal milker, but by now, 6 years later, I'm the number 2. I'm responsible for the health and the insemination and the workers, the global work of the Refet. 2019, our house was also hit by a rocket. By then, we thought, well, this is the worst thing that can happen. We had it, so okay, and then I think my family, normally we don't leave the kibbutz if there's a war, so I think Miriam with the kids left like 7 times in 6 years, and we stayed behind, so I had my war experience. And then 7 October came. Technically I was lucky because I always run outside the kibbutz on Shabbat. The rest of the time also, but shorter. But in the Shabbat I have the time, so I go out of the back gate to Paga, that's a base opposite to Gaza. Then I go to Be'eri, Alumim, and then home. So like 20-25 kilometers. So I put everything on the table, I was ready for it. Normally I go out before 6 because otherwise it gets too hot. And that evening I broke my tooth. So I was walking around the house the whole evening and night, swearing because it was hurting really bad. And finally I fell asleep on the couch. So when the alarm started in the morning, my wife came out of our room and saw me lying on the couch. So that was my luck. And then the whole thing just blew up. Luckily for me, I didn't sleep so well, so I slept a lot in the mamad. So my day was shorter than the rest. The story in the mamad is the same as always. Everybody has the same story. My biggest story from 7 October, and on 7 October I spoke with Gidi. What are we going to do? Are we going to leave? So we spoke about it and we said, okay, let's see what the army says, because technically we were going to stay. It's logic because of the farm. And Gidi and me, we didn't understand the bigger picture. And we knew there were terrorists, we knew the army came late, but nobody had the scale. So finally we got the order of the army to leave. Everybody needed to leave. So we left. So we left, yeah, you know the story, to there. The day after, I already started thinking, what about the cows? Well, there's nobody to feed them, there's nobody to milk them, nothing. And I knew there were still cows stuck in the Mahon, in the milk stable, because the electricity went down, so you can't open the gates. And everybody was gone. We're trying to contact Joshua. Joshua, later on, we heard he was killed and taken to Gaza. So by the time it was the 10th of October, I decided to drive back to the kibbutz. That was amazing. It was like time stood still. There were no cars on the Kvish 6. We were from Mishmarem to here with the son of Moran Freibach. He joined me. It was like the world was on pause because the day before I saw a movie on Facebook of a motorcycle cop chasing a terrorist in a car on the road from Netivot to here. It's like a Kibbutz Tukuma somewhere. And he killed the terrorist. So when we were driving there, the car was there with the terrorist in it. So by the time we came to Saad, you have a lot of stress because there's still alarms, there are bombs, nobody knows. We still didn't know what's going on. Are the terrorists gone or not? But okay, we came here. We waited for a few hours at the roundabout in Saad with that terrorist lying on the road. After 4 days, it was. And we had to wait and wait for a permit to enter the kibbutz. Because we have to go back because we understood there was a fire in the Refet. So we didn't know if the milking stable was able to work or whatever happened. So I had to go back to check if we could start something. So finally we got a permit. We were in a personal car. 2 Hummers came with the soldiers ready on the .50 guns. Turned around and we were in the middle of the 2 Hummers driving to the kibbutz. Only the gates were not working, so they took us to a back gate. On the road to the back gate, we saw like a little pile in the distance on a field, a pile. And we were looking at each other, what is this pile? As we came closer, the pile was next to the road, so we passed it in 2 meters. It was a pile of dead terrorists. They just piled them up. Okay, that was special. So we entered the kibbutz between the military, and as we entered the kibbutz, there was everything. There was tanks and soldiers, and also at the office there were dead terrorists lying around. So then we came in the office, and I think Boas was here.
We met him already.
He was managing. So we sat there, and we didn't get a permit to go walking into the kibbutz because it was crazy. Soldiers, different units, nobody knew who was who. So I sat there with soldiers. One soldier, you could see, he was in Berry, later in Kvaas, and then he came here. He was a huge guy, but he was dead inside. He was just sitting there like a zombie. And we still don't know the situation. Nobody knows the situation. There are terrorists, no terrorists, even the army didn't know. There was a moment I was smoking outside the door, waiting, and suddenly all the soldiers duck and getting their weapons ready. It was crazy, crazy. But finally we get a permit to go. So the son of Moran should go to his house to get some things. And I was going with Boas to the Refet. So we were ordered only to stay on the pads, only walk on the concrete in the kibbutz, don't touch anything. So we went outside, there were ambulances and army stuff. And it was a Tzeva Adom. So we ran to a house, but the door was closed, so we lay on the floor, okay. We stood up and we walked to the new neighborhood. And because you were also here on 7 October, your whole brain is kind of still in a shock mode. So it was like a movie. There were grenades lying on the floor everywhere. I passed a house there from somebody of the Kibbutz Revivo. There were 2 dead terrorists, one with an RPG on his back. And there were gunshots everywhere. And because of the kibbutz, you can't hear where it's coming from. You don't understand who is shooting at who. Are they coming to us? Is it close? Is it far? So it was really crazy. By the time we came here to where the Noi is working, we were handed over to another group of military. We were walking around 6 or 7 soldiers all the time. They were on front and back and everything. We had another Tzeva Adom, so we had to run to the shelter, and I was there with soldiers, and the soldiers asked me, do you have a phone? Do you have a phone? I said, yeah, I have a phone. Ah, can I see it? It was 10th of October, it's 3 days later, they didn't know nothing. He said, give me your phone, give me your phone. So he was looking at the news. He was checking the news, because he had no idea what was going on. And still gunfire everywhere, close fire. We continued with rockets, unexploded rockets sticking out of the ground. So finally we walking here around the Refet, and the cows were all out. They were walking everywhere, and so we went to check on the milking stable. All the offices were burned, so we knew we couldn't milk yet. And later on we did a round. Okay, everything was open. All the cows were out. The babies were out. I saw their cows drinking where bullet holes penetrated the water lines, so they had water. And all the cows were here because they're not stupid. Here's the food. So in 3 days they ate all the corn, and they started to eat on the. They're not stupid. So they had water and food, and that's all we could do. So after that, I convinced the soldiers to walk by my house because my dog ran out. When the soldiers entered our house at 7 October, my dog split. But I left the door open with food on the ground. Let's see. So I convinced them to go to my house. At the moment I was walking up front because they didn't know the way, so it was a little. But then we came to my house and they said, no, wait, we go first. Okay. They split because my dog was running out of the house, so she stayed there. So I took my dog and we went back to the offices. And there was the son of Moran, and he said, where are you coming from? Listen, I told you I'm going to go and walk around to the Refet. They're going to check the food and if there's water and what happened to the milk stable, if it's operational. Or we need a technician because there's a big room of electricity. If that's burned, it's going to take months. That was not the case. He said, but I didn't get further than 50 meters because then the soldier said you have to go back because there's a situation. Something is happening, there's a car in the kibbutz nobody knows, so you're not allowed to go outside. But technically my soldiers probably didn't hear that, so we did our thing. Yeah, and then we have to wait there for, I can't remember the time because it's such a crazy day, but we had to wait a few hours there because we didn't get permission to leave the kibbutz because they didn't know if they were terrorists or not. Finally, by the time, there was another dog in the kibbutz. The soldiers asked me, who is that dog? It was a German Shepherd. I said, could be any dog. So, but there's one dog my dog doesn't like in the kibbutz. They're always barking to each other, always. Not fighting, but they're barking like crazy. So I took my dog to the offices. And that dog walked around. I was inside and my dog was tied to a bench, and suddenly my dog goes apeshit. And then I saw another dog and I said, now I know who it is. It was the dog of Mickey. So we tied up that dog also, and I contacted Mickey if this was his dog, and he said yes. So I can't have two dogs in my car, especially if they don't like him. So the son of Moran agreed to take that dog to Mickey because he was Ukrainian. And we were waiting. And finally, I think somewhere at 9 or 10 o'clock, there was a convoy coming to put diesel in the generator. And I'm waiting there, and it was a logistic convoy, so they're stacking up guns, and they're stacking up mortars, and they're stacking up, it's crazy. And then finally we got to leave with that convoy, finally. Said, okay, now we have to go. We're just stressed out like crazy, especially in the car. If there's with the alarms and the rockets, and so we had to be in between that convoy leaving the kibbutz and the front Hummer. It's probably officer. He stops at bloody every corner he can find. So outside he stops where the tanks are, but you are only stressed. And there's a start-stop system in the car, and it makes me more stressed. Because every time we stopped, the engine died. It's normal, but in that situation you just want to flee. So it was terrible. And somewhere on the road they went right, and I just put full gas. I think it's the one and only time I made it in one and a half hour to Mishmaremek from here. Because there was nothing. The road was empty, there were only blockades of police. There was no people at all. It was the first few days that the country was closed. The only thing you saw every time you came close to, you know, the road 6. It's like you see Tel Aviv in the distance, on the Kibbutz Bazel. You see the Kibbutz Bazel flying all the time. It was amazing. It was the first time I was here, and I went a couple of other times, a few weeks. A few times it worked the same, with the soldiers, with the permits, and you're waiting there to go out. And the Kibbutz Bazel was not working here because there were so much rockets on the center of, and this was a closed military zone. They didn't fire Kibbutz Bazels on our kibbutz. The alarm system was not working. There was no Tzeva Adom, no alarm. So sometimes you hear the soldiers shout Tzeva Adom, and then we all ran to the command center there. And sometimes you were there and just a mortar will fell. Two people go out, they walk. It was Moran that walked out, and there's a large explosion, and you think, well, in the end they were fine. But you see the smoke cloud. It was amazing. So all the cows were out, but there were guys coming to work here. Some crazy guys came here every day to repair the milk stable. So slowly we start to put all the cows back in the groups. But it's crazy. There are planes and helicopters and bombs and explosions and shooting, and you're living like in a parallel world or something like that. And then one night, one stable got hit. So in the morning I came, there were dead cows lying there, and we brought the cows to the milking, and there were a lot of cows coming in with wounds from the mortar, the steel that comes out. Cows were limping. I saw cows that only had 3 legs but still tried to keep on moving because it's a flea animal. But finally we managed to milk them for the first time and get them into the groups. And then somebody who was volunteering, and I was already a few times here. And then at one point it became too much because the concrete roof is protecting you. And there was one day I was standing underneath the concrete roof and I didn't go out. I was like in a pause. Poof. Not going out. I'm not going out there. Then I had a discussion with a volunteer here that was working. He was like the manager he was not a manager at all of us. He was from somewhere else, but he thought he was the boss. So I said, listen, I'm coming here. I have no problem driving up and down, but I'm not sleeping here at all because of the trauma of 7 October. And he said, I don't need people that don't sleep here. So I said, fine by me. So then I left. And I worked on a stable in the north for free to help them because somebody was there on Miluim. Came back a few times, and then I told my wife, nah, this is enough. I can't take it anymore. This is enough. I'm leaving. So I found another job in another Refet. Yeah, near Mishmar. Because also friends of Mishmar told me, don't go back, and you know, what are you gonna do there? You have to leave there. It's crazy. Yeah? So everybody was happy. Found a new job with a car. And after 3 weeks, my wife got home and I said, I quit here. I talked with Gidi, I said I quit, but he said, you can always come back. Okay. But I officially quit. After 3 weeks of working there, my wife came home and I said, I'm quitting here and tomorrow I'm traveling to Nahal Oz. Because it didn't feel right. Because we built everything in the 6 years we're here. This is my place, this is my Refet. We work really hard, 3 days in a year, maybe. So I came back. I came back and slept in my own house since January. So I was 4 days here, sleeping in my own house, and then 3 days in Mishmar with my kids. It was a difficult time, but because I did that, the stress went away. Because the first few times you have stress and you close the door and maybe I should close the mamad, but slowly that goes away. And I did a lot of walking around in the kibbutz, seeing where was happening, and the first time you feel a lot, the second time it's less, and slowly, but technically I'm okay now. And Refet is doing great. So it was also on 10 October, I had a vest, an army vest, with plates from the previous wars. And the soldiers were coming in without anything. They had a uniform and a gun and a helmet, but no vests and everything. So I decided to give my vest to one of the soldiers. And he was really happy with it. He told me after the war I'm gonna give it back, but I didn't hear him anymore, so. No, for me it was a really short day somehow. After, I don't know at the moment, I think you're shut down. You're just like that. In the beginning I already knew something was wrong. Because my first thought when I heard the sound, because I'm always working in wars here. I worked 6, 7 wars here, so I know every sound. What's a rocket, what's a mortar, what's ours, what's every sound I know. And on 7 October, it sounded differently. So my first thought was, we had that party technically in the evening, so I thought maybe they were preparing fireworks and it went off or something like that. It sounded like fireworks. It was so much. And I thought something is definitely not right here. And then the first WhatsApp came in and the gunfire was there. But my phone was dead because I was sleeping on the couch and not where I should. I crashed on the couch because of my tooth, so I didn't have a phone, so I didn't see anything. I heard a little bit about my son. He was the first one to see a picture. I think it's from Ofakim, or I don't know, it was a tender driving, so we saw terrorists. For the rest I was holding the door and I heard gunshots and I didn't open the gun because I thought, okay, if I open it they know we're here. So it was hot, with no drink, no nothing. But for the rest, my brain was typically shut out. It was only by this second, it's now this second, holding the door. Later on I took 2 sheets, bind it from the door to the window. I thought, well, if they... And then every now and then it's quiet and you think, the army is here, this was it. Because you don't understand the full picture, especially without a phone. And in between I slept, so Miriam changed me at the door. It's my 7 October, it's like seconds. Like normally, I'm a busy person. Normally, if I sit on a chair waiting for the dentist, I'm like, oh, it looks like hours. This day it wasn't. It's crazy. I think your brain just on survival mode and don't understand what's going on. We had a little fight with the soldiers the first time they came. I can't remember the time, but the soldiers came in our house to the window. And they called out their name, and my son said, "Wow, the name is on the door, so that's not legit." And I only thought, I can't see anything behind the door. I have no clue. Maybe my house is not even there. I don't know. And I don't know if because our Hebrew is not always 100%, especially when like soldiers talk between each other. I don't know what you are. You could be anything. So I told them literally to fuck off. I said, "We're fine. No, we're here to check you're fine. We're fine, go away." So they tried to open the door. So I was fighting with the door. In your brain, not knowing who is it. And later the neighbor called and said, "Oh no, it's soldiers." So then we opened the door. My wife was hugging them. And the only thing we did was getting drinks and food because we were out we didn't have anything there. And then they sent us back into the mamad. And they said, we're going to the next one. So I thought, what? So technically you're leaving us here. Good luck. Nobody knows I don't know what's going on. But technically, probably they don't know. So the only thing my brain thought, well, you're going right and the terrorist is coming from the left. What is this? So we were still, again, alone. It's amazing. And finally, we got the message that the soldiers of unit were coming to get us out of the mamad. So the soldiers came. So we got out finally. And then we were standing outside the house. And I was thinking, and then there were 4 or 5 soldiers. And 2 said, no, we have to get picking up other people from the house behind. So why are you getting me out of the mamad? There's still alarms and bombs flying, and now I'm standing outside with a bucket with stuffed animals of my daughter. A wash bucket, like this big. So then finally they come back and we go to the parking lot behind the house opposite to us. There's a parking lot behind it. That's the house of Ran Poslosny who died on that day. They were already gone. And there was only one Hummer and they need two. So they sent us into the house, but I was standing outside and number 2 of the Rashat Nissim was there. So one of the soldiers said, who is that? And I said, that's the Rashat. Not the technically right term because he was the number 2. So the soldier said, oh, we're looking for the Rashat all the day. So well, wait, it's not technically the Rashat, it's the number 2. And at that moment, he on his phone understood that Ilan died that day. So he crashed. I'm not an emotional person, but I had to do, he's my friend, so I had to do. So I tried to comfort him. It was impossible, of course, but tried to comfort him. And his kids were also there. So when we're in the house and we see other people from the kibbutz, the second Hammer came. Everybody goes into the Hammer. I'm standing outside with my wash bucket with stuffed animals. And there's no room because everybody's sitting in long rows with all their bags and stuff. But there was room in the middle. It's against the driver. There's a little chair there. So I had to climb all the way in with my little bucket of stuffed animals. And I was sitting there all folded up with the kids. And it's like a movie. I don't think you are actually there. You're seeing it. But technically, the only thing I was thinking, oh, this is a camouflage roof. That's it. If I have a Tevadom now, we have a problem. So we started driving and we saw fires on the way. So we arrive at the bus there. So there's a kind of relief. Not really, but a kind of relief. So everybody goes into the bus, there's another, and the bus doesn't drive. And the only thing you think, start driving with this thing. Why are we standing still here? There's still alarms and everything. Why are we standing still? So finally we start leaving and it's amazing. He goes right, he doesn't go to the front gate, he goes right to the fields. Smoke in the air, you see fires, you have no idea where you're going, everything is quiet. Everybody is dead quiet. There's not a sound made in that bus. People with dogs and everything, nothing. Dead quiet, it's amazing. And we turn to Netivot and there you see the stretchers, ambulances with stretchers. It's like the point where they decide who can. And we keep driving. I have no clue where we're going. But in the end, I was sitting on the floor of the bus because there was not enough space. And in the end, we go to that base. And the only thing we do at the base, you exit the bus and there were already people there of the kibbutz. And they're like zombies. It's amazing, it is quiet. Nobody understands. You know, people are having coffee, but nobody is really, some people are talking, but most of us are searching for faces. Okay, that's them, that's them. My good friend Jerry was still missing and he didn't have any cell phone anymore, so I couldn't reach him and nothing. They were still not there, so you're like, oh. Luckily, the soldiers took my sons to play Xbox on the base, so they were gone. But I quit smoking a week before or something like that, so the only thing I was doing was looking for somebody that smoked to get a cigarette or something like that. And finally, the bus with Cherry arrived. That was great. Yeah, but for the rest, it's just, I don't know, your brain is not fully you. It's like ghosts, it's like zombies, it's like... And then we get called to the bus to Mishmar Emek and that's it. So you thought you would sleep on the bus, but you're not. But you're not even thinking also, it's just a shutdown. The kids were, everything was quiet, there was nothing. And it was just too much information to process, I think. It was such a crazy situation that your brain didn't have any to do that. Later I saw all the videos. My son made all the videos in the Hummers. He's 15. He turned 15. He was 14. We filmed a lot when we got picked up out of the Mamad and outside and in the Hummer. A few videos. So I looked back at him. That was actually nice, but that's it. The most important thing after that, I didn't understand what was going on. I saw the messages about Kvaza, Beri, Nahal Oz, and I didn't understand how. This is something strange happened. This is not possible. We're the closest. They talked about 100+ terrorists. We have 2 long weapons in the kibbutz, and Rafshat was quite quick dead. So there was only 1 left. So I couldn't understand how could this happen? How are we still alive? And in the end, you know, the numbers, how is most of the people still alive? And only later, after a long time, the story came in of the Yamas, and I believe it's a Yamas. Because without these Yamas, this kibbutz would be the same as Kvaza and Nahal Oz, or maybe worse, because there was nobody. So that was amazing. For the rest, yeah. Oh, later on we had a lot of problems. I had contact with the army about Joshua because he was still missing. Crazy stuff. Soldiers coming in and said, oh, but we found a dark guy in the field. Is that him? I said, how could I know if that's him? I didn't see him. So, and later on, they were also searching for body parts in the offices of ours. And then later on the video showed up that they killed him outside and took him to Gaza. And I got a call from Tanzania. It was Joshua's father. That was crazy. No, there's nothing to do. There's only going forward. That's the thing. The problem is there's not really a forward. So we're waiting for that. Our Refet is going great. At the moment we recovered almost 100%. We worked a lot, we did a lot. So our cow stable is really alive and kicking. In January we'll be in the normal numbers of milk. We have a lot of birds next year, so the Refet is absolutely doing great. Thailandians came back who worked here before, so that's absolutely great. The personal, nobody knows. Nobody knows what to do, nobody knows how this ends, there's nothing, there's no information. If the government doesn't have a plan, how do we have a plan? I want to go back because it's my house. This is my place. We built it, we worked really hard, 6 years. We came from another country. It was really difficult. We needed to learn a different language, earn money. 3 months or something like that before the 7th October, we finally bought the house. It was a big fight. So finally bought it. So and now everything is gone. 7th October destroyed everything. But we're looking forward a little bit. But you have to go on. I know my kids are technically doing fine because I started working really quick, Miriam started doing really quick, and it's really important for the kids. Because you also see in the kibbutz the other hand that people still are in a trauma. It's difficult. My kids understand you have to go on. Let's see. Netivot. So we're living there now 2 or 3 weeks. It's much better because before that I slept here alone. I have to drive 2.5, 3 hours. On a Hamashi I will go home 4.5 because of the traffic. But now we're in Netivot, so it's only 50 minutes drive, so it's much better. You can go to work normally and go home normally. And of course everybody still has a trauma. And one day you're great, one day you're looking forward, and one day you're not. You're absolutely not. It's like schizophrenic now. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But inside everybody has something. Because last week my daughter was playing something on YouTube and there was a little sound in the beginning. Both me and my wife were startled because it sounded like a teva. So there is something, there's still, sometimes you walk somewhere, out of the blue you think, wow, if now terrorists would come, that's a good place to hide. So there's still a lot. But that's also because it's not finished. You hear, now it's quiet, but definitely in the morning and in the evening and during the night, there are explosions here all the time. Big ones. There's shooting, normally now is the time to be a little bit quiet between 10 and 2, 3, it's still, and it will go again. So the story is not finished. This morning we had an alarm. After that they sound, no, it's a false alarm. It's a nice story, but for you who is here and hear the alarm, it's not a false alarm. There's actually an alarm. So, and the war is still going on. So I don't think anybody can solve anything until the war is over. You can't start building anything. You only get rid of a trauma when the story is finished. If you can go back, or you're not going back, or you're living somewhere else, but you're not living in a war zone, and the people are back, and and there's a real peace, whatever. I think that's the only moment you really can get rid of the traumas. Because until time, you're living like two shadow lives. For me, it was really difficult to go back to Mishmarem. I was living in a war zone. 2 months ago, we had a big war here again. They went in again. I knew because there were like 100 tanks standing outside of the kibbutz, so I knew they were going in again. And then it's a war. You see rescue helicopters going in, and fighter planes, everything. And helicopters are shooting. And then you go to Mishmar and everybody is normal there. It's a normal world. It was really difficult. And every time again, I'm here 4 days in a war zone. And then you're going back there, you're going to the dining hall in the evening, and everybody's eating, and everybody's talking and laughing. It was so difficult. So difficult to switch all the time between wow, war. Oh, family. Ah, okay, I'm coming in. Ah, my kids. Okay, act normal. It's crazy. Act normal. Ah.
בנתיבות, עכשיו. ההבדל יותר קטן?
קצת. A little. Technically, it's still the same. I'm still living in two parallel worlds. Family life, war zone. There's nobody here. Half of the time I have nobody to speak to. I work with Thais. And because this is our home, and normally there are people, there's nothing. The kibbutz looks dead. So it's less, because the Mishmar Emek was staying all the time, so it's less, but still, you're stepping from a closed military zone to a city. Back to a, so it's still not normal, you still have to switch. And because I worked here also that early and everything, my story is really big. You know, the 10th of October maybe even did more to me than the 7th. I don't know, but a lot happened. A lot. So you're still switching in between. And here, yesterday we had a meeting in Saad. It's so much quieter there, and it's only on the other side of the road. But it's amazing. The noise here is much more deafening than further away. So it's still crazy. Yeah. And my whole family is living in Holland. We're the only ones here. But Holland is also not the place to go. We love our life in Israel. Our kids are Israeli. My daughter was 2. She's a kibbutznik. And I don't like where it's going in Europe. So, we're not this is our place.